That's it. That's what we tend to do anyway. Oh, there we go. We're live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the BigFooty Tigercast. Hope everyone's doing well on this wonderful Monday night. Apologies for being a few minutes late. So I just had to get my headphones up and running over this luscious head of hair that will not plague me like last week. So I'm just combating the hair comments in my own way. So there we go. Evening, Grok. Grok's in the chat. Hope you're feeling well. Yes, thank you, mate. Thank you. It's not as good as your beard hair that could have made an appearance on my head after the efforts last week. But that all good. So CB, how are you, mate? What's going on?
Oh, not much, mate. Not much. Just cricket season's over. Thank God. Had my first swim in over a month and nearly drowned, so that was terrific. But apart from that, life rolls on, mate. Time for footy season.
Very good. And did you bat or bowl at all this year, or were you just sort of strictly behind the scenes?
If Skirls was here, he'd tell you, mate. No, we went okay. We went okay. That's all I'll say. We're all right. And this is the Gormandale Cricket Club top guy I'm actually representing. So it's actually the Tigers. It's the team I play for. This is our one-day uniform. So if anyone wants to come down and play a game at Gormandale with me in the Bees, mate, this is what you wear. Tiger colours.
Very good. It's Tiger colours. It's a win. So, EJ, how are you, mate? Welcome.
Yeah, I'm well. Thank you. Hope everyone's well. And at the start of the show, I'd just like to wish the great KB a happy birthday. 76 today.
Oh.
And I come armed with a stat. Thank you to Sir Swamp Thing on Twitter. Happy 76th birthday, Kevin Bartlett. 8,293 kicks. Number one all time. And 1,940 more than anyone else. 858 handballs, number 842 all time.
KB.
There you go.
A ratio of about 10 to 1.
Skirls has put the comment just underneath the one you just put up there.
Oh, there we go. Good show, guys. Play of the year, CB. Jeez. That's back to back, isn't it? Did you make another newspaper appearance at all this year?
Not sure.
I
will say this. I legit only saw a KO mini of the Melbourne game, and I do blame Skurlock because after we finished the season up on Saturday, we seriously smashed VBs and Pineapple Cruisers till God knows when. It was there. Just haven't seen much of the game, and by the scoreline, I think I was fortunate.
You didn't miss a great deal. Now, somebody did put in the chat where is Blue Lip 71. He's still fairly crooked. In all seriousness, the concussions really mess with him. I think he's like 3 or 4 weeks in now. And he put on Twitter, so I'm not saying anything that's out of order here. He put on Twitter that after doing some tests and whatnot, the doctor thinks he may potentially be having sort of seizures or something during the night. He's waking up with migraines and things like that still. So he's still in quite a bit of issues with the concussion. It just goes to show how serious we have to take it. I know he's obviously a lot older than the AFL players or any other sporting player, but it still makes you question how some of these guys are allowed to come back and play elite level sport that's heavy contact as soon as they do. But yeah, so Tiggs, all the best, mate. Hopefully you're feeling better soon. And Grok still got the hearing issue. The old eardrums copped a bit of a bashing from the Avalon Air Show as well. He was in a bit of pain as they were flying over nearby. So, but that's right. We push on. And what am I getting blamed for here? I blame Marcus feeding the Brookvale Union. Oh, well, yes. Good drop, the Brookvale Union, them lime bitters. But no, good to see everyone in chat. How many of you made anyone else in chat make their way out to Casey Fields on Saturday? It was I went out there. The crowd, guys, I must admit, was a lot more than I anticipated. So I almost left my run too late to get a car park in a spot, but it was pretty good. So the crowd, atmosphere-wise, excellent, and I was rapt that it was free. The kids could have a kick afterwards. They had food vans, the whole shebang. So well done to Casey Fields for putting on a good show. No, not a shithole, eh? Not a shithole. It's a nice part of the world. Travis, this is wow. Sorry, boys, watching MAFS. I'll watch the replay tomorrow. Jeez.
That's the problem with the youth of today, isn't it? That's the problem right there with the youth of today.
CB. The problem with the youth of today, you and I are missing Survivor for this, mate. So don't you go and hide behind these words of untruth. You sit on a throne of lies.
I have actually rejected time with my wife to be with these lovely folks tonight.
Yes, I do have the RGBs on the PC in the background. Good spot up there, Chester. Might do a bit of rough streaming after if anyone wants to watch. But anyway, we'll get stuck into the footy.
That's Cornsey telling the future going, no way you'll ever kick 25 goals in a season, Kochi.
Yeah, we could be in a little bit of trouble with this one. But it's good banter nonetheless. And Cornsey actually gave it another plug, which I sent to you, CB, saying that based on current form, he could probably reduce it to 10 or 15 goals. So,
like a man with confidence. I like a man with confidence.
We'll get to that. But we just thought we'd do a show tonight to touch on the preseason games that have taken place, because obviously they're the big talking points in the lead up to round one. And we'll obviously, resume normal episodes next week, heading into the big round one game versus the Blues. But played Melbourne on the weekend, and they done us by 50 points, 121 to 71. It was an interesting game, EJ. It was being there, and a few people made comment of it, is it kind of felt like that they had 5 more players on the field than us almost at any given time. And it was quite bizarre to watch. But what did you make of the game watching it on screen?
Look, I saw plenty of positives and plenty of negatives. I think one of the positives I'll say is that it was great to have it exposed against who I think are the team to beat this year in Melbourne. You'd rather play them now and actually have your foibles exposed so you can work on them and work your way into the season before we meet them again.
Was there certain things that you liked and disliked? And I agree, they're going to be a very good team as well. Gawn-Grundy partnership is very good.
Yep. Oh, look, I liked a lot of things. I thought we actually held our ground pretty well in the middle of the ground. We wanted to improve contested ball and clearance, and the numbers back up that we did that, even with Prestia going off. So I think that is a real positive. But on the negative side, before getting too deeply into the structural sort of stuff, the discipline or the lack of discipline and the dumb free kicks just doesn't seem to have gotten any better from last year. 2 incidences, obviously, the rest of the football world is melting tonight because Koch only got a $1,000 fine instead of getting a spell. But even like Bolter coming in and knocking the bloke over and giving away 50 metres when the contest was finished, that's the sort of stuff that we've been consistently doing, and it's really frustrating as a supporter when we think that we don't do great on the free kicks anyway. That is stuff that we can absolutely control, and to not control it, it'd be a long season. We need to get that under control. We need to tidy it up.
I 100% agree. There's a couple of 50s we gave away outside of that one, I think, from kick-outs and things like that as well, from encroaching or not giving the ball back, whatever it might be. And they're the controllables. They're the ones that are annoying. CB, from the mini review that you watched, what did you make of it?
To be honest, it was I just really was happy that Lynch was able to get through. That's a positive. Feedback on Dusty is he still looks pretty good. From what I'm understanding, really the issues are defensively. Again, we leaked a bit like a sieve down back. But then we are missing players. Like you look, we played with the 2 ruck combo of Soldo and Nankervis, so maybe the viewers can think about that as to whether the hybrid of Miller, Nankervis looks better and more mobile than Soldo and Nankervis. So the feedback I've sort of come across is people are tending towards the more hybrid setup. We seem a bit more quicker and mobile around the ground. I guess the real negatives are, Short's pinged a calf, so he's borderline for the game. Prestia with a pec is 50-50 for the game. And who's the other one? Oh, there was a third injury, but we need those guys to be competitive against Carlton. You want your best team in. And Marlon Pickett's still 50-50 at this stage as well. And you got Robbie Tarrant. He's still 50-50 with his hip. So, all those blokes are pretty critical to our structure at various ends of the ground that we really need on the park. But, I mean, maybe we're playing Ducks and Drakes too. We're not going to give too much away at this stage of the year. But for me, what I just disliked was those injuries being 8-10 days out, not ideal.
Yeah, definitely. I think we looked a little bit slow. The one thing that stood out for me was the ability for Melbourne to transition the ball from defense to offense very, very easily with a lot of chip kicks through basically any part of the ground they wish. They could go wide, they could go down the middle. And we were talking like this Clayton Olivers and Petrakas, like those guys were free with no one around them. It was quite alarming. So I don't know whether that was a case of it's just a preseason game, we're just ticking the legs over to get through it. But there was minimal to no defensive transition running at all, or tackling for that matter. Tackling I'm okay with, being a practice game. I don't read into that part too much. But the running back the other way to stop transition, like they were literally able just to pick out 4 or 5 passes, get it forward of centre, and then bang inside 50 EJ. It was that happened over the course of 4 quarters easily, and that's why we conceded as many goals as we did, because they were getting easy entries.
Oh, so sometimes if we lost the contest and the ball spat out, it looked like we were just jogging. I don't know what it looked like at the ground, but and that was one of the negatives that I had written down. You say the transition was from the defensive 50. Whilst I'm happy to talk about the positives of having Dusty and Shea down forward with Cumbo and Jack and Lynch, one of our great strengths has been forward pressure when we've been able to lock the ball in. Have we got too many attacking types, and are we lacking a little bit in the pressure? Because as you say, Melbourne seemed to be able to walk it out whenever they wanted.
It stood out massively. Like Rioli Jr. was pretty much our only noted small, speedy, but when Bolton wasn't there, chaser of note. So Dusty won't really give you much of a chase. Cochin's on, heavy legs or whatever. He's on the older side. We know that Jack and Lynch will maybe corral at best, but won't apply serious heat. So opposition had no real fear. I know it's only a practice game, so we're not being doomsdays, but it's something we 100% need to address going into round 1, because they've got to get that mix right. And I think having Dusty, Lynch, Rewalt, Cumberland, and only one small forward isn't the right way to do it. I don't think we're sharp enough down there. It's just going to be too easy as soon as the ball hits the deck, and because we bomb it in long, I would say 9 out of 10 times it's going to hit the deck from a contest. So it just looks too easy for opposition defenders to walk out.
What did you think?
But then, like some people rate practice games and some don't. I mean, the intensity isn't there. It's very hard to gauge intensity in a preseason hit out as well, because they've obviously got blokes trying things. We're trying to get a couple of blokes in new roles, learning their position. So I hear what you're saying, but then I don't know how much weight I put behind it as well. Because you remember, it's pretty bruise free. A lot of that shit's pretty bruise free, because you're not wanting your guys to crack in and get hurt.
There's definitely an element of that. There's bruise free, but when we played our best football as a club, we were generating good habits in all forms of games, whether it was pre-season, whether it was, whatever it was, but we were creating good habits, and not running back and doing those things. I just worry that we're creating bad habits for ourselves again, and it might be harder. Like we might get jumped early part of the year before it might be too late to then turn around and fix it. Maybe we're jumping at shadows with it, but yeah, I don't know. It's just a little bit. I just don't think we're nippy enough around forward. Wouldn't mind seeing Judson Clark spending more time up there. I thought he was very good. I think he played on the wing for a lot of the time, Juddy, but he was good. He was good. What do you make of his game, EJ?
Sorry, I've got my wife just texting me from outside the door. I'll have to pass it on to CB. There's a bit going on out there. Hang on.
No, that's all right.
Give me 20 seconds.
Did you see any clips of Judson Clark, CB?
No, but like I said, I've seen actually North. I saw a bit of, and I was really impressed with what he did there. But yeah, the Melbourne game,
that one. Yeah.
I was smashing beers with Skirl, so it was there was a bit of other things going on. But look, he's been impressive. I mean, Taranto's probably been the story of our preseason now with how he's gone about it. Like even neutral people are saying he's looked fantastic in both games with his two-way running and his tackle pressure around the ball. I just think we're going to flick a switch on next Thursday night. I've no doubt about that. And maybe if Taryn isn't right, maybe don't be surprised if Miller does play a key role there with Bolter as your two keys, and maybe Sansom Ryan gets another shot at it with Nankervis.
Speaking of Taranto, it's a good point you raised. He's in flying form. He and Hopper. The stat that I enjoyed reading the most, especially in the absence of Dion Prestia going off early on, was they both led our numbers in contested possession. Taranto had 14, Hopper with 12, and centre clearances. Hopper with 6, Taranto with 2, EJ. So we've brought them over for a specific reason, and albeit a practice match, they're the kind of numbers and things you want to see from those two guys and the impact they have in the team with, and when Presti is in, that takes it to another level. But at least you see things like that and you think, okay, well, we can cope without Prestia if he does go down.
100%. Sorry, it was a rogue dog on the loose. We fixed that up. Yes, I really, really like what I've seen from those two. And it's kind of funny watching them wax and wane too and get the ball to each other. They know where each other is, which is pretty cool to see. Whilst we got licked in a lot of areas, as I said, when Prestia went off, we still looked all right in that area, and they had a lot to do with it. Taranto's been a standout so far. And I think now I did hear what you said before. I did really like Juddy Clark. He looks like he's had a big preseason. He was actually he looked very impressive. I don't know what he's like at the ground, but he's moving really well. And that running power looks really strong.
100%. I was about to say the one thing that stood out for me is his ability to run hard all game, up and back. And I know a lot of people have made comment that he's kind of going to be the successor in the Kane Lambert role. CV changes the background. And you can see that running power coming into Juddy Clark's game that does replicate that of what Kane Lambert was doing for us. And his skills are pretty sharp too. So, he's releasing the good early handballs. He's got a nice kick on him. And you want to see more games into him earlier. I don't know why Sonji didn't play. I think he's had a hip injury. But if Sonji's not playing for whatever reason, then I think Juddy Clark should to have at least one of them in.
So we know K-Mac's got one of the wings locked in, right? But if Pickett doesn't get up, who do you want to see on the other wing? Do you want to see Judson Clark? Do you want to see Hugo? What are you thinking there? If Marlon can't get up for round one, who have you got for the wing?
I wouldn't mind Judson Clark having a go at it. I feel like he's definitely got the tank to do it now. Hugo, I think he might have only been a chance had he played in the ones in this game just gone, EJ. I feel like that is a bit of a telling point, maybe. Or maybe there's reading too much into it. But
maybe. I like Hugo for the wing spot. Maybe a bit of size compared to Juddy, and also probably had been in the system longer, so has that structure, because our wings are really important. And one of K-Mac's great attributes is he really holds the width and holds the shape of the ground so well. And the two wings sort of adjust their position depending on what side of the ball is on. And I think Clark is maybe not there yet for that, but I'd like to see him in the side anyway, because I think that running power is something that is really going to be rated. I mean, we all say that we missed Graham and Lambert or whatever, because Graham's probably not going to get up, right? We need that two-way runner that will not stop. I wouldn't be surprised if Clark's selected. He wasn't in my best 22 at the start of the year, but I would be surprised if he wasn't in the 22 next week.
And just for the viewers that may not be aware, the reason we haven't mentioned Jack Ross for the wing position, which he has played, is he's actually got a medial strain occurred last Thursday at training. So he's out, not long, medium term, but he's definitely out for a few weeks with a medial in his knee. So that's why we're not talking about Jack Ross to be considered for the wing position at this stage.
We've actually got a few niggles.
Yeah. Yeah, we
What's happened with Pickett? What's his injury?
I'm thinking it's a hip or abductor, but I'm not. Can't quite recall off the top of my head. But we've got a few blokes that are 50-50. So might be a very interesting looking round one team with a few guys, a few positional changes and that. So
and there might not be any reason, and Juddy, there might not be any reason why we couldn't play both Ralph Smith and Clark. Like Clark could play forward, as someone put earlier, in the Castagna type role. So you have Rioli Jr. and Clark as your two nippy forwards to do the harassing and chasing. Ralph Smith on the wing, he can play forward as well. He's got good goal sense. He can play halfback as well. So there could be scope to play both, but then are you entering territory that you start to look a bit younger and a bit fresher? But maybe that's not a bad thing. They bring a bit more vibrance and energy to the team, so that's not always a bad thing.
Yeah, Grok's come through and said, yeah, it is an abductor. Yeah, I was right.
Okay. Ben Miller must play. I think we'll see him come in. Although I've been shocked, did he play in the ones in that North Melbourne game as well?
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
He did. Did he play for me? I can't remember that far back now. But I was a little bit shocked not to see him in for the Melbourne one. But I suppose that was because of the rucking partnership with Big Soldo and Nankervis out there. But I don't think we can go with that ruck combo. We just look too slow. And I get why there's logic to it against a Gawn and Grundy combo, but for round one, I think we go back to that hybrid model.
And keep in mind, Dave Asprey was playing key back and also being our number 2 ruck for a period of time as well. So it can be done.
No, Cumberland. No, definitely not leaving out Cumberland. He'll definitely play forward as well. But I suppose the context of the comments was about, is he going to offer enough chasing ability to shut down plays in defensive 50? But I actually thought Cumberland had a pretty good game on the weekend. The only thing he maybe did wrong is he handballed one off weirdly at the top of the square that he probably should have just kicked himself. So there was probably a couple of goals we left on the table, as Dimmer would say, EJ, with a bit of unselfishness. I think Bolton had one as well. But you maybe don't mind seeing that too much, but you would rather see him take it upon themselves and convert than not. But I get why you want to bring each other into the game, though.
100%. And if they had have blazed and kicked it out in the full, we'd be saying, geez, have a look at these hogs. So, I mean, it's a bit of a no-win situation. And yeah, you're right. It's the time of year to muck around. And I actually think that's why they played Nankervis Soldo against Grundy Gawn, was to see what happened.
Okay,
I think if it had been a real game in the middle of the season, I don't think Soldo would have played.
Interesting call. And I think someone mentioned somewhere that they heard Dimmer talking pre-game, and he was interested to see how the four-line combo would work. So I think even he knew that it wasn't maybe what it's going to look like in round one, but it's one of those things that they probably have to just find out what the balance looked like, if those kind of players all end up in those spots on the ground.
Oh, what?
What is that?
It hasn't worked. Damn it.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a picture of Kane.
I think CB's clicked the wrong link here.
No. Keep talking. I'll get it right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, CB.
Damn. I'll try.
The other player I want to mention, Liam Baker, I thought had a ripper game, 36 disposals. After coming off, was it appendicitis, or his appendix out, something like that?
Appendix out.
I thought you couldn't have asked for a much better game, but the question still needs to be asked: what part of the ground are we going to utilise him in? Because he can play anywhere. He can spend minutes in the middle, although I don't think he needs to now with the addition of Taranto and Hopper. I think that part's long gone. But he could be the pressure small forward as well. But he's also very valuable down back. So, listeners, keen to hear everyone's thoughts on where you think Baker's best foot is going to be, as well as EJ and CB.
I have no idea. I honestly don't know where to put him.
Is he? I think Dimmer does think of him as his Mr. Fix-It.
Yeah, I mean, he was fantastic, but where do you play him? You're not going to play him in the guts, as you say, because he's not Taranto and he's not Hopper, you don't want to waste him full game time down half back. Could he fill the other wing?
I think Bakes. I think he's your swing man, mate. If you've got a problem in the forward line, you can put him there to lock down. He can play defence. I mean, the back line will be interesting because you need him for a bit of pace as well. Actually, what's people's thoughts about Rioli's game? Because his first game against North was a bit average. How was he against the Demons?
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't set the world on fire, but didn't do anything bad either, I don't think. But I mean, he's going to have to play. I mean, if Short's, I didn't realise that Short had a calf issue, so if he's out, then I think this week, in round one by default, Baker will have to play defence alongside Rioli if Shorty's not in.
Well, you think about it. If Tarrant doesn't play, you got Broad, Miller, Grimes, Rioli, Bolter, and I don't know, who am I missing? Baker? I don't know. I'm just saying you're going to need Bakes and Rioli for run off that half back line.
Yeah, well, who else can do it? I mean, Mantle's probably the only other one that's played half back, but he hasn't been really getting bulk minutes in the ones.
Or Hugo.
Hugo could.
Or K-Mac, actually. K-Mac can play half back too.
No.
You lose your general moves, don't you?
Do not move K-Mac from the wing.
Just saying.
Just don't.
No, Bolter. You go, EJ. You go.
I was pretty much going to say, what did you think of the boys down back?
I think being it wasn't a full strength back line, I think they did okay, but part of the reason why they maybe seemingly failed is because of the amount of easy ball that was allowed to get in there. And that's not all, they can't always help that. But, you know, you saw I thought Bolter was filling the holes really well. He was putting his body into positions that he was going to get crunched. He was attacking out of the back line, kicked that 85-metre goal, had a little bit of breeze behind it. He had that dumb free kick that he gave away, or the 50-metre penalty. But I thought Vlosten did okay. I think they were all okay without being outstanding. But I think they were kind of let down by the amount of easy ball that their forwards are being given.
McQualter said in the interview after the game, he said Melbourne scored 6 goals from deep defence, and he said that's pretty much unheard of. So from where they were getting the ball deep defensively, they would put it straight through the whole ground and score, which is a bit of a concern.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying before. It just seemed to escape our forward 50 really, really easily. And it's probably really hard to set up for that because you don't expect it to be down there that quick, do you?
No, and especially with that breeze as well, like that carries a lot quicker too. So it put them under enormous pressure. So I mean, you could probably argue they had a dirty day, but I think there was a few things that didn't help them. That's for sure. And it wasn't the proper makeup as well. I thought Clark did okay.
Clark?
Oh no, who's the VFL?
Young.
Young.
Yeah. I wrote his name down. I thought he was pretty good. Got pushed under the ball a couple of times, but apart from that, I thought he was pretty good. That's
okay, though, isn't it? Like, it's a good learning experience for him. He's got okay size. I think, obviously Tarrant's going to be the next go-to, and then Gibcus when he comes back in. But I think Young's more than suitable backup, and he could develop into something.
Yeah, and he's got a bit of athleticism. He moved pretty well in that. I said to CB the other day, he kind of reminds me of Broad a few years ago.
He didn't look overawed by it. I know it's pre-season. He didn't look overawed or out of his depth.
No, not at all.
I've just seen a comment in there. People don't forget, do they?
Jake Hartstown back.
Just to answer, where have I seen the thing? Darren King, his Grimes right or carrying something. He's coming off a very significant hamstring from late last year. So whether he has some hesitancy about that, but he will go on Thursday night. There'll be no doubts about that. But whether he's just getting himself through so he's good to go, I don't know.
He looked a half a yard off it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looked like at the ground, but on TV he just looked that little bit off it. I don't know if it's father time or I don't know.
Yeah, we need him fit and firing. Like we need the back line to be a strong cohesive unit because I don't know. We missed it towards the end of last year.
I sort of see what Andrew's saying, but it's not our full team on the park. You can't judge what you saw on Saturday until you see your actual best 22 out there, or 23, whatever it's going to be this year. I'm not judging anything until Thursday night at 10:30.
So the Trent Cotchin conundrum, does the forward experiment have merit? Like, I know we've got the cheeky side bet with Kane, but I mean, albeit a practice match again, he didn't look like getting remotely anywhere near it from what I could tell at ground level. Not sure if it looked any different on TV or not, but you know what you're going to get from him in the guts. You know you're going to get a good solid contest, but then once the opposition peel away, he's going to struggle to keep up. But does the forward move have merit? Do you think we'll actually see it in the season proper for a good portion of game time?
But you don't start him at the very, very start when the game's at its hottest. You bring him on after 5 minutes, so when there's that little bit of heat out of the game, then he can come in. You wouldn't have him from the get-go. I mean, hey, the coaching staff know better than me, but I would have him starting on the bench is where I'd actually start him. But
so similar to like the Selwood role, he was coming off the bench a little bit.
100%. Now you're talking.
And he'll be managed. He'll miss a few games.
Yep.
And he'll be the person subbed out in a few games, and he may even be the sub in a couple of games. We've got to accept, I think, that he's not a four-quarter footballer anymore, and we've got to get the most out of him we can because he's still got that absolute animal hunger for the player and the ball. Question
for you. So we know Dusty's got a special rule for himself, and he can pick and choose when he goes in and when he goes out. You think Trent Cotchin has the same license? Do you reckon Cotch has that ability? If he sees a matchup that he likes in the middle, he will just put himself in the middle to influence the game? Do you reckon he'll have that license?
Who's going to tell him no?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Is he dangerous enough, though? Like, Dusty doing it's a genuine weapon. Does Cotch have that same kicking penetration or lethal skill that it's going to be damaging?
I think he's still a human cannonball going in that middle. I think he would still shake up in the first 5 minutes.
I think I agree on the sense that if we need an inspirational moment, like a big hard ball get or a big tackle in the middle, you would turn to him first almost every day of the week, I think. So I think in that sense, if you need to turn the tide in something like a bit of a physicality way, I think he would be the man he'd put his hand up.
He doesn't need the captain next to his name, mate, to still lead out there on that ground when we need it.
No, God, no, absolutely not.
And I've seen something on the side. CJR, I don't think we have a posture coach. No. Apparently,
for
Samson Ryan.
Samson Ryan.
Hunting over.
He looked okay.
He has.
He looked very good.
Goal kicking aside, now I will say that ground to kick at, it was windy as all hell down there. Not a great place for set shots. He was on a couple of tight angles, but his presentation and his attack of the ball, I thought he was quite good.
He's going to be a very good player for us down the line, Samson Ryan. Absolutely.
It's taken him a couple of years to put the size required on to not be bullied.
That's right.
He's turning 21 this year?
I've got no idea. He might be a little bit older.
Nah, he's only got drafted a couple of years ago. So I think he's he'll get some definite game time this year. There's no doubt about it. And from what I've seen, I saw against the North game, he looked really good. And the clips I saw when he came back on for that last quarter looked really good there. So a bit to work with.
The North game was an interesting one for him, wasn't it? Because he was the main man alongside Jack, obviously with no Lynch. And I thought he handled it quite well. Like I said, presented crash packs, kick goals, and he's actually quite mobile at ground level. I think he's much more mobile at ground level than what Lynch is. I'm not saying he's going to replace Lynch and we don't play him. But I think we've definitely got time he's got time on his side. I think he'll see some minutes. And I'm really wrapped for him because I still feel awful about the circumstances he was thrust into his debut game and how that panned out. And I'd be happy to scratch that from the records, let him start fresh this year. He might. I wouldn't be shocked if he played round one, to be honest. He could be that hybrid mould ruckman, but I just don't know what his defending ability is like. That's where Miller gets the nod in that aspect. Like if the ruckman drifts forward, Miller can defend at least.
Well, the thing is, though, if Taz isn't right to go, then Miller will play key back with Bolter to cover the two gorillas down there. So Ryan could get a go. I wouldn't put it past that Ryan plays, and I'd be quite comfortable if he did play round one, to be honest. I think it'd be fantastic.
That debut game was very Jack Watts-ish.
Oh,
like Warnie's first game wasn't real flash against India, mate. So,
sorry, what was that?
Warnie's first game against India wasn't real flash either. Look how that turned out.
Oh no, I'm just saying though, it was lambs to the slaughter.
It was. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right weather. It wasn't anything. And I think he injured himself in the first quarter too. So
he copped a corky in the first minute.
We'll scrap that one from the record, I reckon. Dow, what did you make of his game, EJ? I thought when he had bulk time in the middle, I thought he did good things.
I thought he was all right. He wasn't uber noticeable, but he didn't do anything. There was nothing poor. I don't think he's best 25, but if we lost 2 or 3 midfielders, I'd have no issues with him coming in. I thought he looked composed and more than capable.
He will be a bit of a victim of circumstance here with the inclusions of Taranto and Hopper, that he sort of goes back down the pecking order a little bit, because I don't think, similar to Ross, I'm not sure what other position he could play if it wasn't in the middle. I don't think he's got that craftiness to play up forward, or he doesn't have the dashing ability of half back. Is that a fair call, CB, do you think?
Sorry, I was just reading a comment.
I was just
going to respond to Tiger Forecaster about the round one team being a very hybrid team. Hard to see us being settled against the Blues with so many changes. I tend to agree, and I'm revising my forecast down from 120 points down to 98 at this stage.
Oh, Jesus. Downey's like, I don't think Dow's on his last chance. Not at all. I think he had quite a substantial bit out. Was it with glandular fever, I think it was, that I think knocked him out for almost an entire year. So I think he'll still get some games, but it's going to be dependent on either players resting, players injured. Like something will happen where he will get a game. He's just got to make the most of it, doesn't he?
Oh, and can I ask a question of the Melbourne team? How full strength was the Melbourne team against us? Who were they missing?
They had a few out. Off the top of my head, Fritsch was out. Viney was out. There's a couple more. I don't really pay much attention to Melbourne, so I was, but
so they're going to get better as well.
They had a few of their top liners out.
Yeah, there you go.
So I was just saying on Dow, he'll get a few opportunities, but at the end of this season, with the deals that we've done for Hopper and Taranto or whatever, a few of that sort of player are going to leave for opportunity. We have to be mindful of that. It's going to happen. Because we're going to prioritise someone like keeping Sonzi than keeping Dow.
Yeah. The other thing I want to get your guys' thoughts on, Nick Riewoldt, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, made comment about that he believes that this year of all years, there's going to be greater separation between the top 8 and bottom 8 in terms of talent and skill level. So he thinks that the top 8 teams are obviously naturally going to get better, but a lot have also put themselves in a good spot, whether it be drafting or young kids coming through. And he reckons by about the halfway mark, that we'll have a very, very clear indication on the ladder and how it all is going to sit for the rest of the year. Do you buy into that theory, or do you think it's an open race like it has been in previous years, from pretty much first all the way through to maybe even 14th was kind of fighting for an 8th spot?
I think this will be the tightest race we've ever seen. I disagree. I think with equalisation measures and everything's coming along and the way other clubs have recruited, I think it's going to be very, very tight. But I still think Melbourne's a team to beat, but it's going to be very tight.
Yeah, Melbourne's a team to beat, no doubt. Look, I think it'll be tight for positions in the bottom half of the 8, but I think that there'll be 3 or 4 clear teams that will be the ones that can win the flag. And I think teams outside of that will be lucky if they do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit tighter as well. But I agree. I think there'll be the top 2 or 3 teams that'll kind of be that half a step ahead of everyone else. And it'll be a bit of a shit fight for the last few spots in the 8, which is what makes it interesting, really.
Yeah, like
Kind of what you want to see.
4 to 14 on the ladder, you could throw a blanket over them, but I think the top few will just separate themselves.
Yeah.
But what do we know?
All Tigers gone. Melbourne, Brisbane, Geelong, top 3.
Yes, I agree. Yep, I agree with that.
Brisbane pick it. They are a good team. I just think they aren't mentally strong enough to carry it through all the way in finals.
I honestly think if they had a different coach, they'd have already had better results in finals. They have recruited for need as just about as well as us. But Dunkley in the middle is massive for them. They get Ashcroft for free, and they get some smarts down forward to help out Dopey Joe and his sidekick Eric. They've actually got now someone with a brain in the forward line in Gunston. I think Brisbane are going to be a really, really dangerous side.
I forgot about Gunston. That's a good call.
Yeah, the Brisbane will be good, and this is where I'm not crying unfair or anything like that, but this is where Brisbane have a home crowd. Geelong have a home crowd and don't travel. Like, we certainly get a lot of supporters and we love playing at the MCG, but you get a real free kick for that 1 or 2 or half a game here and there that will separate you and get you that ladder position for the end of the year. I think I'd be staggered if Brisbane and Geelong didn't make the top 4.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that. I think both got good lists. Like, it would take something catastrophic for them to not be featuring there. Both good teams.
Geelong got everything for free. My goodness. What was that silly deal? They got pick 7 and that player.
That's
pick 1100.
How was that looked into?
Speaking of deals, you just tweaked my interest. Do you want to talk about Collingwood and their suki la la dickhead ex-president mouthing off about, and their supporters talking about how they saved the league and they're bigger than Ben-Hur? Like, come on, they're taking the mickey, surely, eh? Collingwood full of themselves and full of their own self-importance, particularly Eddie Maguire, the racist dickhead. Surprised.
Yeah, you kind of got the timeline wrong, saying that they were, original tenants. Well, Melbourne is the original tenant. We're clearly second, and they didn't save anything because the timeline he was talking about, at that particular time, Collingwood were destitute and they needed help. They weren't giving anyone else help.
Correct, right.
Anyway. I forgot about
All right.
that.
The last topic I want to address, we kind of touched on it briefly throughout the night, but our 450 entry, there's been a lot of points in chat about it. We seem to be just bombing it in long again, EJ. It's like it's ingrained into our players' heads to do it, and I feel like now too many opposition have worked out that that's the way it's going to go in, and it's easy enough to nullify it. If you've got any 2 decent defenders, it's going to get cut off. But it's not. It can't keep working, can it? We have to change the way we're going inside 50. Something has to give. It feels like. And I don't want to feel like this is pointing the finger at Dimmer, but have we tried to evolve our 450 entries? Because I know we scored a lot of CB last year, but
we were the number one scoring team in the league.
I know, but we're very ineffective. Like, it's because we've got pure weight of numbers getting it in there, but we're just not very effective. Like, we're not really efficient on a ratio perspective.
Yeah,
it's just ugly, and I feel like we're just leaving so many more opportunities on the table by sitting in on someone's head. Like, how much better does Tom Lynch look when he's on the move instead of standing there with his arm in the air?
I have full confidence that we've uncarltoned David Teague and we'll be
Uncast.
defensively is where our issues are at. So hopefully Truck Rutten can work his magic there, but it's behind the balls where our problems are at the moment. Not forward of the ball, not in the middle of the ground. But hopefully Taranto with his two-way running will get this, and Matt K-Mac, we've got some real good power runners now that will be able to push back and push forward. Defensively is where our problem is, not forward.
I disagree. I think the defence is being exposed by our lack of pressure down forward. And if we tidy up our midfield and forward pressure, the defence will have more time to get set, and then they won't look so poor. In regards to the forward 50 entries, Del Santo did say on the coverage, and I don't know whether this was evident at the ground, Chris, that Melbourne were really well set up with their spares behind the ball, Lever and May controlling and patrolling the area. And so we sort of lost our way a bit. Is that something that we need to work our way through? Is our issue only against the top sides? And so therefore, do we not see it often enough through the year?
But maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what you take out of that game is well, shit, that really worked well against us. How can we implement that?
What I've noticed is that when Dusty was playing as a forward, he sat a lot deeper than when it was Jack or Tom doing it. They sat a lot higher. And then when they sat higher, May or Lever would just sit 15, 20 metres behind the ball. Similar to what, when we were winning flags, how Grimes would sit off behind as the nude, as whatever Dim, I think, like to call it. But that's where bombing it doesn't work well. So if you've got two reasonably good intercept markers or guys who can read the ball, which most teams do have these days, it's easy for them to cut off. Like the amount of times we'd get the ball out of defensive 50, get it up to the wing to Lynch or Rewalt, who were essentially on a 3-versus-1 with no real other support. It just kept breaking down. And that was kind of the theme a little bit last year too, that we weren't able to sort of pick our way through as like other teams do to us.
I'm trying to think of the last 5 games when Cumberland come into the team, and that changed on where we had more hit up forwards. I think we hit our forwards up a lot more in that last 5-6 weeks when Cumberland come in.
He's frozen.
Yeah, he gets on his bike, doesn't he?
Yeah, so I don't know. I've got faith.
Well, hopefully we have a good outing round 1 against the Blues. So, all right, I suppose everyone's homework for the next week is to work out what we think the best 22 is going to look like for round 1. So I'm sure we can put together a bit of a side to reveal on Monday and see what we think will happen there. But hopefully we get these injuries under control too. And I mean, the names you mentioned off the top, CB, there's a couple of alarm bells there. But I mean, if Press is 50-50, I'm tipping we're not going to play him. Same as Short. So maybe we already are factoring them out of the equation, do you think?
I reckon Presti will play. Short won't. I reckon Tarrant won't play. I reckon Pickett will. That's my take. Out of those 4, I reckon 2 will play, 2 won't. So I reckon I actually think Miller will come in and play key back, and I think Samson Ryan will come in and play ruck with Nankervis ahead of Soldo. And to keep in mind, there's talk that Jack, and I had a text from a mate, and I've seen it in the comments. There is a concern around Jack Rewald as well.
In injury
He went for
sense,
scans today.
On what?
Rewald had scans today. Don't know what on, but just so it was reported on Fox Footy. So could be a very interesting team round 1. People might get their hybrid and have Jack out for round 1, and Cumbo could be the man. Who knows?
Oh, you go. Aaron's put finger. I swear he has scans on his finger almost every year, doesn't he, around this time? Yeah, I'd be a bit reluctant to play anyone that's sort of semi-injured, just get them right. And Kegs, that's a good point. Mackay and Kerno will be maybe a slight concern if Tarrant doesn't get up. But you've got to back Bolter in, and this is where Gibcus missing will hurt a bit as well. But I also think Miller can more than hold his own too. I think he's got enough size about him, enough smarts about him that he can be given a job. And Broady's going to do his thing as well. So I think between the 6 of them, they should be okay.
Miller's a big boy. He's quick. Miller's bloody quick for his size.
And he reads it well. I would have no qualms in Miller playing on either one of them. I think he'd be fine. All right, I think that wraps it up because we won't go too much into the Carlton stuff because we'll save that for next week for the Monday night show. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Can I just say one thing?
Oh, yep, go for it.
The stand rule.
Oh, yes, the stand rule.
Right. We all hate the stand rule, don't we? Is that fair?
Very fair.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Kudos to the AFL. They have a special talent. They have taken the worst rule in the book and they've made it worse. They've made it worse. I was away for work, and so I happened to catch last Thursday night because I was in my dodgy motel room as usual, the Brisbane-Geelong game. So a couple of adjustments to the stand rule now is if you are coming into impact and you don't get there in time, you can't retreat out, right? But there was a situation where Geelong were going forward. The Brisbane player didn't quite make it for the mark. He backpedaled out, but the other Brisbane player thought, right, I need to get on the mark. And he pointed at the mark and ran into the mark and got pinged for 50. So now actually trying to do the right thing and stand in one spot like they've asked you to do, if you haven't done it quick enough, or if the other person has decided that they want out, you can't do it. 50 metres, it was a goal. Like, it is a dumb rule, and they've made it infinitely dumber with 2 extra interpretations on it. And I was watching, and I just had the Fox, and I rewound it 3 times. I was trying to figure out what happened. Seriously.
There's going to be a lot of confused people at games this year, isn't there?
Do we know when and if this new CEO is going to be announced?
That keeps getting pushed back, doesn't it?
Give me a candidate that says, I will abolish a stand rule and I will lead us fucking stampede onto AFL House.
It's a dumb rule. And I know you pointed it out several times before, but how stupid is it that, players are getting penalised from running away from the guy with the ball? Like, you're giving him more space, which is what they want. You're not impeding him whatsoever. They want more space. They want more time. And you're getting penalised for it. It defies logic. And, the 4 umpires thing, I can see what they're trying to do. If the 4 umpires means they were opening up the talent pool to get more umpires in that are better decision makers that maybe didn't pass the fitness side of things previously, great. But it's going to cause a lot more confusion because, like you said, we're adding more interpretations. And all of our rules are interpretation based. They're not clear cut. Well, not
Gil McLaughlin,
most of them.
Gil McLaughlin will see this year out, mate. He will still be there by the halfway mark of this season. There's just too many. There's too many bodies. There's too many bodies and issues he's got to sweep under the carpet for him to go yet. With the Hawthorn racism issue, with Fagan and Clarkson, you've got a whole bunch of shit that he will not let someone else get their hands on. He has to control it so he can control the narrative. So he ain't going anywhere until all his reports and findings are out. And he's doctored the results to make the AFL look like what they are.
Tinfoil hat on.
It's not, mate.
And I reckon,
he's not, you know it's true. You know it's true. That prick, if you read that book, The Boys Club by Michael Warner, and incidentally, hey, what happened to that guy after he released that book where it just tipped a bucket and exposed a lot of shit from AFL corruption in the last 20 years? That's right. He's now doing Nadia Bartel articles in the Herald Sun, mate. Worked out well for him. But, there was a lot of truth in that book. And Gil McLaughlin is an architect and Dimitru and Mike Fitzpatrick are the architect of a lot of bad shit the last 20 years. Fact.
And that is why the AFL don't want Benny Gale, because he won't fall into the boys' club mentality. He would do things the right way in what he deems to be appropriate, and that may not align. But that's good for us, though. I'd rather Benny with us than there, personally.
And one more thing. I would just like to say thank you to a 3-time premiership legend. He'll always be a legend in my eyes. I'll love him to the day I die for giving us some great football moments. Congratulations to George Castagna on a wonderful career, and I wish him all the best in retirement.
Yep. I highly respect players that absolutely eke every ounce out of themselves. When you think of some of the players that we've picked high, like Ben Lemon Lennon and players like that who had all the skills in the world. Corey Ellis.
Silk.
Right. Had zero application. And then you get a guy that just applied himself and, got a game through the back door. Absolutely hats off to George. Enjoy your retirement.
Love him.
Agree. 3-time premiership player. And, I don't mind people who have criticised his performances over the journey, because every player's had a performance to be criticised, but you've got to show the ultimate respect to the guy. 3 flags. Was probably unlucky not to get a Norm Smith, to be honest. If he converted 5 of those shots, he might have actually jagged it. Yep. But hats off to Georgie. Shit tattoos, but he played some extraordinary footy for us. And really, he was a big part of the puzzle as to how our pressure game got up and running. Like him, Butler, Higgins, like when that kind of kick-started everything. And he played taller. And we said it on this show, there's been a lot of critics of George, but he did a lot of work without the ball that people maybe never saw or wanted to accept. He's running hard both ways. He ran unrewarded a lot of times. He's always a Richmond man.
Dimmer referenced that running. And would you believe George is actually going to study tattooing now that he's retired? That is
he will make a fortune if he opens up a shop.
So I hope George can cut in between the lines better than he kicks a goal. It'll be like that tattoo when you saw that episode of Jackass when Henry Rollins got a tattoo going over those rocky roads, and Steve-O was tattooing him. Yes. I hope the smiley face looks a bit better.
I think George is going to be called Mr. Squiggles Tattoo Parlor.
He will have a queue of Richmond people out the door. He will make a killing off that, undoubtedly.
I hope he does. Hope he kills it. Hope he smashes it.
Yeah, so do I. No, ultra respect for Georgie. Well played. Credit to him for, if he wasn't feeling it, that he wasn't able to invest as much as he could. He's sort of putting the team ahead of himself, which a lot of the players have done when they felt it's time to retire. So that gives us another chance to recruit the mid-season draft as well. So, thanks for allowing someone else an opportunity too, I guess, to try and live out their football dreams. But all the best to Georgie.
And all the best to Young. And also congratulations to Kieran Bradkey too on getting the spot that we did call. So we got that one right.
Yeah. Yes.
And he looks all right too. Bradkey looks all right.
That's I think we'll actually ultimately end up getting Narkle in the preseason, in the mid-season draft, now that Georgie's pulled the pin. But yeah, he'll just warm up at Essendon for a bit for us, and then we'll hopefully get him across. But yeah, Bradkey looked all right. And, if Jack's under an injury cloud, and I suppose Samson Ryan gets first up crack at it, but he could find himself maybe fighting for a spot as well at some point.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be round 1 could be very interesting, mate. We'll have to watch that. That injury list is a little concerning.
Yeah, which you don't want at this time of year. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. CB, EJ, thanks so much for jumping on board. Much appreciated. Tiggs, again, hope you're feeling better soon with a concussion. Same to you, Grok, with the earaches. Hopefully it all clears up. And we'll try and get a full team on board next week, heading into the game against the Blues. So take care of yourselves, and until next time, go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Thanks for watching, guys.
Tigers.
And girls.